The rain in Busan didn't fall gently that night. It attacked the streets like it had a personal grudge. Inside a glass-walled penthouse overlooking the harbor, Kang Min-jun stood motionless, his reflection fractured in the window. Below him, the city belonged to him. The docks, the shipping routes, the underground deals whispered in coded languages. Everything answered to his name. To the world, he was a businessman. To the underworld, he was the Korean Mafia boss who never missed a debt. But tonight, none of that mattered, because his mother was gone. She ran away, his uncle had said 4 years ago, voice too calm, eyes too careful, left in the night, no note, no reason. Mong Hard believed it. He had built his rage around it. Every empire he expanded, every rival he buried, every city block he controlled was built on the silent promise that one day he would find her again and ask why, or make her regret it. He didn't know which outcome he feared more. The knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. Not a guard, not a warning signal, just a knock, slow, controlled, familiar. His hand went to the drawer before his mind caught up cold metal, polished black pistol, but he did not. T moved further. Something in his chest tightened, a feeling he hadn't allowed in years. The door opened anyway. His right-hand man Jae-yun stepped in, soaked from the rain, breathing uneven. He didn't speak at first. That alone was enough to change the air in the room. "She's alive," Jae-hyun said finally. Ming-jun didn't blink. Who? But he already knew. Shae-yun hesitated. "Your mother." Silence didn't follow the words. It collapsed. 4 years disappeared in a single breath. Min-jun's grip tightened on the edge of the desk until the wood cracked slightly beneath his fingers. Where? A pause. Then, Gimhae District. Old medical clinic. She's been working under a different name. Something in him shifted slow, sharp, dangerous. "Bring me everything," he said quietly. Jae-yun didn't move. "There's more." That was never good. "She didn't run away," Jae-hyun continued. "She was taken off the grid. Financial records erased. Identity wiped. Someone wanted her gone without a trace." Min-jun's eyes darkened. "Who?" Jae-yun swallowed. "We don't know yet." Outside, thunder rolled like distant gunfire. The clinic was small. Too small for a woman who used to live in a penthouse life. Key his. Min-jun stood across the street, hood up, rain soaking through his coat. He didn't feel it. He hadn't felt weather in years. Through the window, he saw her. Older, thinner, hair tied back, hands moving carefully as she wrapped a child's bandage. His mother. His mind rejected it before his heart could accept it. She looked human. Not the woman he remembered from marble halls and expensive dinners. Not the woman who once had staff and security and silence following her every step. This woman flinched when the door opened too hard. This woman smiled at crying children like she had nothing left to lose. Min-jun stepped forward before he decided to. The bell above the clinic door rang softly as he entered. She didn't look up immediately. "Please take a seat," she said automatically, voice calm. "I'll be with you." Her words stopped. The room went still. Slowly she lifted her head. And for the first time in 4 years, Kang Min-jun saw her eyes again. No panic, no recognition at first. Just confusion. Then something deeper. "Memory." "Min-jun," she whispered. His name sounded wrong in her voice, like it belonged to a boy she used to know, not the man standing in front of him. Air now. He didn't sit. He didn't move. "You're alive," he said. It wasn't a question. Her hands trembled slightly, but she forced them still. "I didn't think you'd find me." That sentence cracked something inside him. "You didn't think I'd look?" he asked. Her silence was answer enough. Behind them, the clinic door opened again, but no one entered. Jae-hyun remained outside, watching. Min-jun stepped closer. 4 years, he said quietly. "You disappeared for 4 years?" "I didn't disappear," she replied. "I was removed." That word made his eyes narrow. "By who?" Her gaze dropped. That was new. The woman who used to never lower her eyes in front of anyone was avoiding his now. "Min-jun," she said carefully, "you shouldn't be here." A soft laugh escaped him, humorless. "That's what you have to say?" She reached for something under the counter. Not a weapon, a folder. She placed it between them. Inside were documents, medical records, financial transfers, names, dates. His eyes scanned fast. Too fast, then stopped. One name repeated in patterns across the pages. Han Group, his rival, the only family in the country that had ever truly threatened his empire. His voice dropped. They did this. His mother didn't answer directly. I became a liability. To you. That made him freeze. You think I don't know how to protect my own family? Her eyes finally lifted again, sharper now. You were building an empire. Every enemy you made came for the people around you. I was the easiest target. Minjun's jaw tightened. So you let them erase you. I let them think they did, she corrected softly. That pulled him back slightly. What does that mean? She hesitated, then reached under the counter again, this time pulling out a small black phone. She turned it on. One message lit the screen. 4 years old, unread, sender, unknown secure line. But Minjun recognized the encryption pattern instantly. His own system, his own hidden channel. The message opened automatically. Only one line appeared. They are inside your organization. Trust no one, not even your blood. Minjun's breath slowed. His eyes lifted slowly to her. You sent this. She nodded once. I didn't run away from you, she said. I ran so I could survive long enough to warn you. The room felt smaller now. Outside, thunder cracked louder. Minjun took a step back, processing not emotion, not memory, but strategy. 4 years of war. 4 years of expansion. 4 years of trusting the wrong people at the wrong time. And all of it, possibly already compromised. He looked at her again. You could have told me, he said. I tried, she whispered, but every channel I used was already controlled. A long silence stretched between them, then a sound outside. Not rain, not thunder. Cars, too many, too coordinated. Mingjun turned slightly toward the window. Black vehicles lined the narrow street, doors opening in sync, men stepping out, armed. Yohaian's voice came through his earpiece, sharp and urgent. Boss, we've got a problem. Those aren't ours. Minjun's eyes narrowed as the first figure stepped into view under the streetlight, a man in a white coat, smiling, and he raised his hand not in greeting, but in recognition, as if he had been waiting for this exact moment all along. Inside the clinic, Minjun's mother whispered, almost to herself, They found me faster than I thought. The man in the white coat didn't knock. He didn't need to. He stood under the flickering streetlight like he already owned the night, his smile calm, almost polite like a doctor arriving for an appointment. Rather than a predator stepping into a war zone. Mingjun didn't move, but everything inside him did. Behind him, his mother's voice dropped to a whisper. That's him. Just 2 words. But they carried weight like a loaded gun. Minjun's eyes stayed locked on the street. Who? He asked quietly. His mother hesitated. Dr. Park Soon-jo. The name meant nothing on the surface. But Minjun knew better than to trust surfaces. The man outside raised his hand slightly again, not a wave, not a greeting, a signal, and in response the doors of the black vehicles opened wider. More men stepped out, not random thugs. Professionals, coordinated movement, silent communication, weapons hidden but ready. The kind of precision that didn't belong to street gangs or rival families. This was organized, military-level organized. Inside the clinic, the air tightened. Yohaian's voice came again through Minjun's earpiece, lower now. Boss, we're outnumbered, and these guys aren't local. Minjun finally spoke, eyes still forward. Identify. Da pause. Then, unknown insignia. But I've seen that formation before. Offshore security contractors. Black tier. Minjun's jaw clenched slightly. Mercenaries, but not hired for chaos, hired for extraction. His mother moved closer behind the counter, her fingers trembling slightly as she opened a hidden drawer. Inside small vials, medical tools, and a thin encrypted drive. You need to leave, she said again. Mingjun turned slightly toward her. Not happening. A faint sadness crossed her face. You don't understand what they want. I understand enough, he replied. They came for you. That makes it mine. For the first time, something flickered in her expression. Not fear, recognition. Like she was seeing the boy he used to be under the empire he had become. Outside, Dr. Park stepped forward, and then, unexpectedly, he spoke, not shouting, not threatening, just calmly. Kang Minjun, his voice carried through the rain. We can end this without violence. Minjun's eyes narrowed. You broke into my territory, Minjun replied evenly. A small smile from the doctor. Your territory is already compromised. I'm not here to fight you. Then what are you here for? The doctor tilted his head slightly toward the clinic window. Huh. Silence dropped like a blade. Inside Minjun's. Mother closed her eyes for half a second, like she had been expecting this exact moment for years. Mingjun noticed. That detail mattered more than the guns outside. You don't get to say her name like that, Min-jun said quietly. Dr. Park's smile faded slightly. You think you're protecting her, he said. But you're late, Mr. Kang. Something in Min-jun's expression shifted. Late. That word wasn't random. It was targeted, the doctor continued, voice steady. She's not your mother in the way you think she is. A beat. Rain hammered harder, and then Min-jun laughed once short. Cold. You came here to die then. But Dr. Park didn't react. Instead, he raised a small device in his hand and pressed a button. Inside the clinic, every monitor, every hidden screen, every device in the room flickered to life at once, even the one in the encrypted drawer. His mother froze. Min-jun's eyes snapped to her instantly, because for the first time she looked scared, not of him, but of what was being shown. The screens filled with data, names, faces, operations, years of surveillance logs, and at the center of it all a single classified file labeled Project MO. Erline. Min-jun's expression changed, slowly. Not confusion, realization. His mother whispered, barely audible, "No!" Dr. Park's voice carried through the storm. She wasn't just hiding from your enemies, Kang Min-jun. To pause. She was built into them. Min-jun turned fully toward her now. The world outside disappeared. The Empire, the guns, the rain, all of it faded into background noise. What does that mean? He said quietly. His mother's lips parted, but no sound came at first, because for 4 years she had prepared for every question except this one. Finally, she spoke. I didn't run away from your world, she said softly. I was assigned to it. A long silence. Min-jun didn't blink. Assigned, he repeated. Her hands tightened on the counter. I was part of a program, she said. Before you were even leading the family. Before you became what you are now. The words hit deeper than any bullet. Outside, Dr. Park continued. She helped design the intelligence framework your empire unknowingly uses. Every internal security route, every counter-surveillance system. Min-jun's eyes darkened slightly. No, but something in him already knew. Because too many of his systems had been breached too easily over the years. Too many internal leaks. Too many impossible coincidences. His mother lowered her head slightly. I tried to stop it, she said, when I saw what they planned to do with it. With you. Min-jun stepped closer. You lied to me, he said. Her voice broke slightly. I protected you. A beat. Then Min-jun asked, quieter. From what I'd sighed, Dr. Park answered instead. From becoming the next phase of it. Min-jun turned his head slowly back toward the window. The doctor was still there, still calm. Still waiting. As we speak, Dr. Park continued, your organization is being quietly handed over to external control. Your enemies aren't your enemies anymore. They're shareholders now. A pause. And you are no longer the owner. Inside the clinic, silence stretched. Then Min-jun spoke, voice dangerously low. You're lying. Dr. Park shook his head. I'm informing you. A faint shift in the air outside. One of the mercenaries stepped forward and whispered something into his earpiece. Dr. Park listened, then looked up again. Actually, he said softly, we're out of time, Sid. The clinic. Min-jun's mother suddenly grabbed his wrist. Hard. Urgent. For the first time. They're activating it, she said. Min-jun turned sharply. Activating what? Her eyes locked onto his. The collapse protocol. The beat. Then the first explosion didn't come from outside. It came from inside Min-jun's network. Somewhere far across the city, systems he controlled began shutting down. One by one. Assets freezing. Funds rerouting. Security grids collapsing. His empire going dark. And outside, Dr. Park finally stopped smiling. Now, he said quietly, we begin the real conversation. The first system failure didn't feel like chaos. It felt like silence. That was what made it worse. Inside Min-jun's empire, silence meant something was being erased cleanly, professionally, without panic, without noise, without warning alarms that mattered anymore. He stood still in the clinic, eyes unfocused for half a second as internal reports flooded his hidden channel. Then came the confirmation. Asset nodes offline, financial routing blocked, internal comms fragmented, security layers overridden, and worst of all, admin access revoked. Min-jun exhaled slowly through his nose. Not fear, not panic, calculation. Outside, Dr. Park's voice carried through the rain again. You're watching it happen in real time, aren't you? Min-jun didn't answer. His gaze shifted slightly to his mother. She wasn't looking at the screens anymore. She was looking at him, like she was waiting for something. An apology, a reaction, a break. But Min-jun didn't give her any of it. Instead, he asked quietly, "How long?" His mother's lips parted, then closed again. Dr. Park answered from outside, "Long enough to build it around you without you noticing." To pause. "Your entire system was never yours alone, Kang Min-jun." Min-jun finally turned toward the window again. His voice dropped lower. "Then who owns it?" Dr. Park's expression shifted just slightly. Not satisfaction, something closer to disappointment. "You already met the answer." Min-jun's eyes narrowed. Inside the clinic, tension sharpened. His mother stepped forward slowly. "I didn't want you to find me like this," she said quietly. "Not in the middle of it." "Then why send the message?" Min-jun replied. Her voice softened. "Because you were never supposed to inherit the full structure, a beat, but you did anyway." Outside, Dr. Park raised his hand again, and this time, the mercenaries didn't just aim, they deployed. Small devices hit the ground around the clinic perimeter. No explosions, no fire, just a pulse, a low electromagnetic wave that rippled outward like a breath. Inside the clinic, every remaining device flickered, then died. Lights, screens, systems, even Min-jun's encrypted earpiece went dead. Yaeon's voice cut out mid-sentence, and suddenly, the clinic felt like the only place left in the world that still existed. Min-jun slowly reached into his coat, not for his gun, but for a small analog switch device, old school, hidden fallback protocol. His mother saw it immediately. "No," she said sharply, but it was too late. He activated it. Nothing happened. He frowned slightly, then tried again. Still nothing. A slow realization crossed his face. Dr. Park's voice came through the glass, quieter now. "You built redundancies," he said. "So did we." Min-jun looked up. For the first time, something like irritation appeared in his expression. "You've been inside my systems long enough to predict them." A faint nod from the doctor. "Not just predict," he corrected. "Study, improve, redirect." Min-jun exhaled slowly, then turned toward his mother again. "You helped them." Her face tightened immediately. "I helped you survive," she said. "There was no other way." "Stop," he said sharply. That one word cut through the room. Even outside, the mercenaries paused slightly. Min-jun stepped closer to her now. "4 years," he said. "You let me think you were gone. You let me build an empire on a lie. And now you're telling me it was for survival?" Her voice broke slightly. "You don't understand what was going to happen to you if I stayed." His eyes hardened. "Try me." Silence. Then she finally said it. "You weren't supposed to become the boss." A pause. "You were supposed to become the system." The words didn't make sense at first. Not emotionally, logically. But Min-jun was not a man who ignored patterns. And suddenly, he remembered. The way his earliest operations always succeeded too easily. The way rivals always made mistakes at just the right time. The way opportunities always appeared exactly when he needed them. Too clean. Too guided. Like some Ething had been steering him upward all along. His expression shifted slightly. Outside, Dr. Park spoke again. "You were never just a Mafia heir." A pause. "You were a live test." Min-jun's voice dropped dangerously low. "Test for what?" A long silence followed. Even the rain seemed quieter now. Then Dr. Park answered. "For control." Inside the clinic, something shifted in Min-jun's eyes. Not shock. Understanding sharpening into something colder. "You're saying I was engineered?" His mother closed her eyes briefly. "I tried to stop it," she whispered again. "When I realized they were using emotional anchoring family trauma loss to stabilize behavioral dominance patterns." Min-jun looked at her. Really looked. "You're talking like one of them." That hit her harder than anything else. She shook her head slightly. "I was one of them," she admitted. "A beat, but not anymore." Outside, Dr. Park took a step closer to the door. "Enough," he said softly. "We don't have time for internal reconciliation." He raised his hand again, and this time the mercenaries moved toward the clinic, not rushing, controlled, closing in. Min-jun noticed immediately. He shifted slightly, positioning himself between them and his mother without thinking. His instinct was still intact, even in collapse. His mother saw it, and for a brief second, something like regret crossed her face. "I didn't want this ending," she said quietly. Min-jun didn't look at her. Neither did I, he replied. A pause. Then a new voice crackled through the dead silence. Not from outside. Not from inside. From somewhere deeper. An old analog speaker in the clinic's basement system flickered to life. Static first, then a distorted transmission. You're all late. Min-jun froze slightly. So did Dr. Park outside. The mercenaries stopped advancing. His mother's face went pale because she recognized that voice instantly and whispered, "No, that system was shut down," the speaker crackled again. "And yet," the voice continued, "you still built your empire on my foundation." Min-jun's eyes narrowed slowly. "Who is that?" he asked. His mother whispered one word, "Director." Outside, Dr. Park stepped back slightly for the first time. And for the first time since this began, he didn't look in control anymore. The word director didn't echo in T. He clinic. It settled, like something heavy finally landing after years of being suspended in air. Min-jun stood perfectly still, eyes fixed on the flickering speaker in the basement wall. The static crackled again, sharper this time, like a signal forcing its way through layers of buried silence. Outside, even Dr. Park didn't move. That alone changed everything, because men like him didn't hesitate unless they were facing something they couldn't calculate. The voice returned, calm, controlled, familiar in a way that felt wrong. "You've done well, Kang Min-jun." His mother took a slow step backward. Min-jun noticed, and that detail mattered more than the voice itself. "You know this person," Min-jun said quietly. She didn't answer. That was her answer. The speaker crackled again. "You were never meant to hear this early," the director continued. "But contingency events tend to accelerate when emotional variables are introduced." Min-jun's gaze sharpened. "Emotional variables," he repeated. A faint pause. "Then you call her mother, don't you?" The air in the clinic changed instantly. Mong-dun turned his head slightly toward her. Just enough. Not according. Use. Not belief. But pressure. His mother's lips parted, but nothing came out. Outside, Dr. Park slowly lowered his hand. Not surrender. Assessment. Inside, the system had shifted from extraction to observation. The director spoke again. "She was assigned to observe your developmental trajectory. You were not an accident of inheritance, you were an outcome of design." Min-jun's jaw tightened. That's not possible. But even as he said it, fragments inside his memory started aligning in uncomfortable ways. The timing of his father's death, the sudden vacuum in the organization, the quiet internal support that never made sense, doors that opened too easily, enemies that overextended at exactly the wrong time. His rise had never felt entirely earned, not because he was weak, but because the world had never resisted him properly. His mother finally spoke, voice low. "Min-jun, I didn't choose your life. A beat. I was placed inside it." His eyes shifted to her fully now. "And me." Her voice broke slightly. "You were never supposed to know the difference between choice and guidance." Outside, Dr. Park muttered something into his comms. The mercenaries. Tightened formation again. But hesitation lingered now, because the rules had changed. The director continued. "Dr. Park is a containment specialist. His role was to ensure you reached maturity without destabilizing early exposure to truth." Min-jun let out a quiet, humorless breath. "So I'm a project. No," the voice corrected softly. A key silence. Even the rain outside felt distant now. The speaker clicked, and a new layer of information appeared on every remaining functional device in the clinic, older systems rebooting themselves against logic. A schematic, not of a building, but of an entire network spanning cities, ports, financial systems, intelligence grids. And at the center, a single designation, Kang Min-jun Node Prime. His eyes narrowed slowly. "What is this?" he said. The director replied calmly. "A distributed control architecture. You are the final synchronization point." His mother stepped forward quickly. "No," she said sharply. "He was never supposed to reach this stage." A pause. Then the director answered, "Yet here he is." Outside, Dr. Park raised his voice for the first time. "This is unstable," he called out. "We need external reaction protocol now." But the director interrupted him immediately. "Negative." The single word froze everything. Even Dr. Park stopped mid-step. Inside the clinic, Min-jun's expression shifted slightly. "You override him," he said. "Yes," the director replied. "Because he was always secondary containment." Min-jun's gaze slowly hardened. "And what am I?" "A beat." Then the answer came. You are the transition between control and autonomy. Silence followed. Not empty. Loaded. His mother suddenly reached for his arm again. Min-jun, listen to me, she said urgently. If they fully activate synchronization, you won't be you anymore. You'll be networked into every system they built around you. He looked at her hand, then at her face, then said quietly, "And what am I now?" That question hit harder than anything else. She didn't answer immediately, because the truth was worse than anything she could say. Outside, Dr. Park suddenly shouted orders. "Move in! Now!" The mercenaries advanced, but the director spoke again. Containment breach acknowledged. A pause. Initiating reclamation protocol. Done. Then everything happened at once. Not explosions. Not gunfire. Something deeper. The mercenaries outside froze mid-step. Their devices flickered, their movements stuttered like broken recordings. Dr. Park's expression changed, sudden confusion, then alarm. "What is this?" he started, but his voice cut out because his own systems were no longer responding to him. Inside the clinic, Min-jun felt it first. A pressure, not physical, internal, like something trying to sync with him. His vision blurred for half a second, then data, flooding behind his eyes, not through screens. Through cognition, he saw routes, connections, life systems across the city. He saw his empire not as buildings or men, but as nodes, and every node was lighting up in response to something he didn't initiate. His mother grabbed his wrist tightly now. "Fight it!" she said urgently. "Don't let it complete handshake synchronization." Min-jun looked at her, and for the first time, uncertainty flickered in his expression. "Handshake," he repeated quietly. The director's voice softened. "Acceptance reduces resistance by 83%." Min-jun's breathing slowed slightly. His empire was still collapsing, but now he could feel it around. Collapsing. Like losing limbs one by one. Outside, Dr. Park dropped to one knee. Not wounded. Overridden. His mercenaries stood still now. Empty. Waiting. The director spoke one last time. Kang Min-jun. A pause. "This is your final divergence point." Inside the clinic, Min-jun stood between two truths that were no longer separate. His mother, the system, his empire. The voice finished quietly. "Choose what you remain as, Dan." For the first time since this began, Min-jun felt the full weight of what it meant to be the center of something designed to decide what he would become. The clinic didn't feel like a building anymore. It felt like a threshold. Min-jun stood in the center of it, still as the world around him fractured between two realities, one physical, one engineered. The air itself seemed to hesitate, like even time was waiting for his next decision. Inside his mind, the network wasn't just present now. It was aware of him, and worse, it was responding. His mother's grip on his wrist tightened. "Min-jun, look at me," she said urgently. "Don't follow the sync pattern. If you align fully, you won't be able to separate your own thoughts from the system." His eyes flicked to her, then away, because something else was pulling harder, not forcefully, not violently, structurally, like gravity deciding where he belonged. Outside, Dr. Park was no longer standing. He was kneeling, not injured, disabled. His mercenaries stood frozen in positions that no longer had commands attached to them. Their weapons hung mid-air. Useless. Their bodies were present, but their autonomy was gone, and above it all, the director's voice remained calm. "You are resisting based on identity attachment," it said. "This is expected." Min-jun exhaled slowly. "You keep talking like I'm already inside it," he said. A pause. "Then you are not inside it," the director replied. "You are the layer it runs on." His mother stepped in front of him now, fully blocking his line of sight to the speaker. "Stop listening," she said firmly. "This is what they do. They don't force control, they convince alignment." Min-jun looked at her. Really looked. For the first time since this began, his voice softened slightly. "You said you were assigned to me." She froze. He continued, quieter. "Was I ever your son? Or just your assignment too?" That question broke something in her. Expression. Not anger. Not denial. Something far more dangerous. Grief she had been avoiding for years. "I raised you," she said, voice shaking slightly. "I protected you. I changed outcomes I was ordered to preserve. That is not an assignment." A pause. Then she added, "Softer. That is choice." The word choice seemed to ripple through the system. For a fraction of a second, the pressure inside Min-jun's mind weakened. Just slightly. But enough for him to notice. Outside, the director paused. That was new. Minjun noticed that too. You're not fully controlling this, he said slowly. Silence. Then correct, the director replied. That single word changed the atmosphere instantly, because systems like this didn't admit limitation unless they were already adapting. Minjun's eyes narrowed. So there's something above you? A pause. Yes, the director said. His mother inhaled sharply. No, she whispered. That layer was sealed. Minjun turned to her. What layer? She hesitated too long. That was enough. Outside, Dr. Park suddenly lifted his head slightly, not fully conscious, but not fully gone either. His voice cracked through communication silence. Node Prime, don't, then static. Swallowed him again. Inside, the director spoke carefully. You were never the origin of the system, it said. You were the stabilizer between competing control architectures. Minjun felt something cold form in his chest. Competing, he repeated. A new image appeared in his mind, not visual, but conceptual. Two overlapping systems. One built for control through hierarchy, one built for control through adaptation, and him standing between them like a bridge that shouldn't exist. His mother suddenly grabbed his face with both hands. Listen to me, she said urgently. You were born during the merge attempt. That's why they used me to stabilize your neural compatibility before divergence failure. Minjun stared at her. You're talking like I'm a machine. Her eyes softened painfully. No, she said. I'm talking like your human architecture inside something not designed for humans. That sentence landed heavier than anything before it. Outside, the mercenaries suddenly moved, not forward, not backward, all at once, like a system regaining partial command. Dr. Park's body twitched. The director spoke quickly now. Containment instability increasing. Mungun felt it too. The network wasn't just sinking, it was splitting, and he was the pressure point holding it together. If he aligned fully, everything stabilized. But he wouldn't be separate anymore. If he resisted, the entire structure could collapse. His mother stepped closer, voice low now. They will offer you control, she said. Perfect control. No uncertainty, no loss, a beat. But you will stop being the one making the decision. Minjun's eyes narrowed slightly. And if I refuse both? Outside, a sudden crack of light tore through the street systems. Not an explosion. A segmentation rupture. Multiple signals colliding. The director's voice dropped lower. Then divergence occurs. A pause. And you will become the first autonomous fracture inside a controlled civilization. Silence fell so completely that even the rain felt distant. Minjun slowly turned his head toward the window. Dr. Park was barely conscious now, but still watching him, waiting. His mother's hand slipped from his face, because she understood something now. This wasn't a rescue anymore. This wasn't a revelation anymore. This was a point where whatever Minjun chose would not just change his life. It would redefine what control meant in every system connected to him. And for the first time, the voice inside the network didn't push. It waited. The waiting didn't last long. In systems like this, silence was never peace, it was preparation. Minjun stood still in the center of the collapsing clinic, the weight of two worlds pressing against him from inside and out. One voice belonged to his mother, the other to something that didn't fully understand what it meant to be human, but understood how to organize one. And for the first time, he realized neither side was asking him to survive. They were asking him to define the outcome. Outside, the streetlights flickered in uneven pulses. Dr. Park was on one knee, barely conscious, his mercenaries frozen like statues waiting for a command that would never come. The system that had once moved them like pieces on a board was now fragmented threads pulled in opposite directions. And above it all, the director spoke softly. Final synchronization threshold reached. A pause. Decision required. Minjun's mother stepped closer again, her voice trembling but steady. Minjun, don't let them finish it, she said. If you synchronize completely, you won't choose A. Nothing ever again. Not even this moment. Not even me. He looked at her. Really looked. 4 years of anger. 4 years of absence. 4 years of thinking he had been abandoned. All of it now sitting on top of something far more complicated. Not betrayal, not manipulation, but a life built inside something neither of them fully controlled. His voice came low. If I refuse both systems, he said slowly, what happens to me? The director answered immediately. Isolation state. A pause. You will exist outside structured control networks. You will be unpredictable, unoptimized, independent, another pause, and therefore, unmanageable. His mother's grip tightened slightly. "That means they lose you," she whispered. Mingjun didn't respond right away, because for the first time, he understood what losing meant in a system like this. It didn't mean death. It meant becoming something no architecture could account for. Outside, the sky above Busan trembled with interference patterns signals fighting for dominance over collapsing infrastructure. Entire sectors of the city flickered like they were forgetting how to exist properly. Dr. Park suddenly spoke, his voice breaking through the Saint. "Attic, Node Prime, if you hear this, don't let them decide your state." Then his voice cut out completely. Silence again. But this time it felt final. Inside the clinic, Minjun stepped forward slowly, not toward his mother, not toward the speaker, but toward the center of the room where both influences overlapped. The pressure in his mind increased instantly. Systems trying to align him. The director's voice softened again. "This is the optimal path," it said. "Total integration ensures global stability. No further conflict, no loss, no deviation." His mother stepped forward urgently. "That's not stability," she said. "That's surrender dressed as peace." Mingjun closed his eyes for a brief moment, and in that moment he saw everything, not just systems, not just networks, but every moment in his life that had felt slightly too controlled, too guided, too inevitable. And for the first time, he understood something simple. If every path led to control, then freedom was not a path. It was a refusal. He opened his eyes and spoke. No synchronization. The air shifted, not violently, but structurally, like something fundamental had just been removed from a blueprint. The director P. used. Repeat command. Minjun's voice was steady now. "I said no synchronization." A long silence followed. Inside his mind, the pressure surged, instantly systems attempting final override, emergency alignment protocols activating, containment logic tightening. But something unexpected happened. It didn't hold, because something inside the architecture hesitated. Not the director, not his mother, the system itself. And that hesitation spread. His mother exhaled slowly, as if she had been holding her breath for years. Outside, the mercenaries collapsed to their knees all at once. Not dead, not activated, just free of instruction. Dr. Park barely moved, but his eyes opened slightly, confused, like a man waking from a long artificial dream. The director spoke one final time, not calm anymore, not controlled, but quieter. "You are no longer predictable," Mingjun replied simply. "No." A pause. "I never was. You just didn't account for me properly." Silence. Then the connection severed. Not explosively, not dramatically, just gone. Like a door closing that would never reopen. The clinic lights flickered once, then stabilized into ordinary power. No systems speaking, no hidden version. Voices. No layered commands beneath reality, just rain outside and silence inside. His mother slowly stepped forward, her hands still shaking slightly. "It's over," she whispered. Minjun didn't answer immediately. He looked out through the glass at the city that had once belonged to his empire, now operating without him at its center. Not collapsing, not controlled, just continuing, imperfectly. He finally spoke. "No," he said softly. A pause. "It's just not theirs anymore." His mother looked at him, eyes searching. "And what are you now?" Minjun's gaze stayed on the rain outside. For a long moment he didn't answer. Then, quietly, "Someone who doesn't get assigned anymore." Behind them, the broken systems remained silent. No director, no synchronization, no hidden architecture speaking through machines. Just two people standing in a quiet clinic as a world slowly relearned how to function without a single point of control. And for the first time in years, nothing was deciding for him.